This video is all about your paper 2 question 3 topic of resource management. Now remember, resource management, you could be asked an overview of energy, an overview of food, or an overview of water, and this video is about the overview of the UK's energy. Now we'll start off with the UK's energy mix. Now in the past, the UK was heavily reliant on fossil fuels, so your coal, oil and your gas. Now the use of fossil fuel is declining, especially coal. In around 1990, coal was responsible for 2/3 of electricity, but then in 2023, for example, it was under 2%. The use of renewables is growing. The reason that coal is not used as much is because a lot of UK deep mines are closed. The last major one closed in 2015, and we're running out of coal, and we've got that trend towards renewables, which will eventually become cheaper over time. In terms of gas and oil, the North Sea reserves are declining and becoming expensive to extract. Therefore, the UK imports more energy, which reduces the energy security. Now, you need to know the economic and environmental issues of exploiting energy resources, and I've selected a couple of examples of energy resources, which is also quite nice because it links into your pre release for this year. Now, fossil fuels, we know coal, oil, and gas. Economic, they create jobs in fossil fuel industries. However, they're expensive to import fuel and also to decommission power stations when they're no longer in use. In terms of the environment, we obviously know that the burning of fossil fuels releases CO2, which contributes to climate change, particularly global warming, and that greenhouse effect. There's also visual pollution and can lead to habitat destruction too. In terms of renewables, if we look at wind turbines, remember it's wind turbines and not a windmill. A wind turbine can be both onshore, like this picture, but also offshore. Um, so, for example, in Hornsea, there's one of the world's largest offshore wind farms as of 2023. And it's expensive to build, but you've got low running costs once they're there. And there's no CO2 emissions, but it can affect birds, it can strike birds, and can affect migration patterns too. Solar is the next one. Obviously, it's effective in summer, but it has limited output in winter. Environmentally, there's obviously low emissions, but large solar farms can take up land. We've looked at the example in paper one of the Solar and Solar project, and that took up a lot of space. We then have a little look at nuclear. Now, some people debate whether or not this is renewable, but eventually the supplies of uranium will run out, so I would argue that it's not. In terms of nuclear, there's huge costs with building nuclear power plants. Environmentally, there's no CO2 emissions, but there's obviously risk of accidents and disasters, and obviously the waste disposal is quite hazardous. In terms of hydroelectric power, we've looked at this from paper one when we looked at the Amazon and the dams. Remember, this turns a turbine, which in turn generates your electricity, and this is using the river and the flow of the river to turn that turbine. So this is kind of a quick overview of the UK's energy, and what's quite nice is it does link into our paper 3 in our issue evaluation too.